Hey everybody, it's Belinda. Can I request to come back to an interview question if I'm not sure how to respond on the spot and need time to think? Absolutely. When you're answering questions, when they're asking you questions at the interview, a lot of times you're nervous, so you're trying to think of an answer. It's okay to say, can you repeat the question? It's okay to say, can you give me an example? It's okay to say, can we come back to that question? It's okay to do all of those things because in an interview, people expect you to be nervous. They expect you to have to think about the question. I say it all the time. When you are interviewing, you want to take a minute, think about the question, make sure you understand the question, because a lot of times we are be so quick and ready to respond that we don't even understand the question. A good example of that would be, tell me about a time when you. So they want to know about a real life time that you did something. Or how would you handle? So those seem similar. Again, tell me about a time you dealt with an upset customer. Or how would you handle an upset customer? It sounds like the very same question, but it's not. Tell me about a time you yourself experienced that event. How would you handle? You may or may not have experienced an upset customer, but what would you do if you had? So when you are answering interview questions, make sure you understand the question. I say it all the time. Make sure you understand the question that they're asking you, because you don't want to just be answering a question and that's not even what they ask you. You can ask them to repeat. You can say, can you give me an example? Or you can say, can we come back to that question? It's okay to say all those things. In the event that pay is established in the interview, is it ever appropriate to request the amount to be increased rather than turning the position down because the employer is not paying enough? So I'm going to read that again. In the event that pay is established in an interview, is it ever appropriate to request the amount to be increased rather than turning the position down because the employer is not paying enough? So in the interview, if they are talking about pay and it's in the ballpark of what you're interested in, if it's in the range, you can always negotiate, but you negotiate at the offer. You don't negotiate in the interview because you're not the only person interviewing for the position. So you don't want to start a negotiation and the person in front of you or the person behind interviewing next will take it at the amount that they set. You want to wait until the offer, because unless there's an offer, it's pointless to go back and forth of a negotiation. So if the pay is not what you want it to be, when they offer you the position, at that time and that time only, do you have the power to negotiate? So I have a friend who is interviewing for a position, and she did the exact same thing. The pay wasn't what she wanted. At the offer, she told them, I'm interested in this position. However, the pay is not what I'm making now. I want to make at least this or more. And they counter offered. It was at the offer. But you want to wait until they want you. They've told everybody else, we're not interested. They want you. They make the offer to you. That is when you have the power to negotiate salary, benefits, those type of things. Not a moment before then. How can school-age children be mentioned in an interview without being disqualified or seen as unreliable? I don't know why a school-age child would be mentioned in an interview, because unless you're talking about tell me about yourself, but outside of that, you really want to, there's no reason to talk about kids because they shouldn't be asking you. Now, they may say, tell me about yourself or what should I know? And you volunteer that. But even then, I would never bring up children in an interview if I was the person interviewing you or if I'm the person being interviewed. It doesn't matter. Can you get back and forth to work? Period. Because, again, what would be the purpose of bringing up children in an interview? If it comes up, just in general conversation, just be mindful. Now, if the HR professionals talking about their children and you want to chime in and say, oh, I have a child who is also in the first grade, you can say that at that time. But outside of that, you really should not be bringing up children in an interview. And because you have children doesn't mean that you're unreliable. So those two really shouldn't go hand in hand. Although some people may think, when I start bringing up that I have kids or, especially in daycare or etc., that people may think that I'm unreliable, and that's not true. But you should not bring up kids in an interview. How do you handle the question, what is your weakness, without highlighting your fails? Excellent question. Anytime you talk about a weakness, you follow up with a strength. I always say we have 3 strengths and 1 weakness. Our weakness, we follow back up with a strength. So, and a weakness needs to be related to the position. Don't talk about something that's not related to the position. So a weakness that I always would say in an interview in HR, my weakness would be as it relates to this position. So I'm setting the parameters, I'm setting the barriers. I don't know your company's policy and procedures. Okay, so that's a weakness. If I'm going in HR, if I'm interviewing for an HR position, I don't know their company's policies and procedures. That would be a weakness for me. I would follow back up. However, I'm a fast learner and I'm very familiar with all types of policy and procedures. So I know that I will learn your policy and procedures fast if offered the position. So you follow back up. So again, 3 strengths, 1 weakness, you follow back up with the weakness. Keep your weakness short and sweet, related to the position, and related to the fact that it's something in there, like you don't know their software, their computer software. However, I'm very familiar with, again, I'm very familiar with tons of HR software. I just haven't used that particular one. I'm a fast learner. I'm sure I will catch on fast. That's the weakness. That would be my weakness as it relates to this position. So you want to, when you talk about your weakness, you want to talk about 1 as it relates to that position, and that's it. And then you follow back up. So if you were interviewing for a position, let's just say at a leasing office, and they use a software you're not familiar with, that could be one of your weaknesses. But you follow back up with the strength. I'm not familiar with the software y'all use here. I'm familiar with, and you can list all the different softwares that you're familiar with. However, I'm a fast learner. So I'm sure that I can catch on quickly. So that is how you will follow up with your weakness with strengths. Always surround your weakness with your strengths. See you at the next time.